Yeah, what it do, people? Like always, class first starts. Got to share the link. So as I'm sharing the link, uh, give everybody time to get in here, get they view on. Um, um, like I said, I'm just sharing the class, people. If you know comics, somebody who think they funny, all that good little stuff, let them know we here uh, every Monday for the free. Um, and if they want to get in on it, they can. Watch sets. I already had some people create some send me some inboxes, want me to check out they sets. So if that's you, DM me. I got you covered. Then we'll get into this. Um, what's up? Adventures of Chassis. What up? All right. So previous weeks we talked about. I'm trying to get my screen right. All right. So previous weeks we talked about what to do to get ready to go on stage. What to do once you got on stage. Last week we talked about what to do once you have been on stage and how do you make adjustments. So now, what to do once you've come off stage after that first time. Now we're going into what to do when you get ready to go on stage for the second time. And that's where we at this week. So this is the thing about it. So I just want to be clear so everybody knows this. Good stand-up comedy takes time. And it doesn't happen overnight. It ain't gonna happen in 1 and 2 sets. It might not even happen after the third or fourth time going on stage. But it just takes time. Even when you see people like Dave Chappelle who come out with a special, these hour-long special, hour and a half long specials, he's like, damn, he banging out these mugs back to back. Well, the thing that Dave gets that the average comic isn't able to get is a bunch of stage time. So Dave will do shows where it's just him, and he'll do 2 hours just standing on stage talking and working out everything he's trying to work out. So if the average comic could get 2 hours, 7 on stage, non-judgmental 2 hours on stage, 6 times a week, you can create content like that. And you can create it fast, and then the turnaround is quick. But the average comic ain't getting that much time. Like I know I can get a bunch of stage time. I host a lot of rooms. I've been in doing comedy long enough to where stage time isn't necessarily a problem, but quality stage time isn't the same thing. So I might get on stage 6 times a week, but I'm not going to get 6 times a week quality stage time. That's not going to happen. So some of that's going to be fussing with cats in the audience. Some of that's going to be at nightclubs where people really ain't paying attention to what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? All of that's going to be a part of the game. Now, that doesn't mean I can't grow in those environments. But if you're trying to create true material, that's not necessarily going to be the rooms to necessarily cultivate material in. And unless you're cultivating material that is specific to that particular type of room. Example, if you're in a super hood room, and it's going to always be a lot of extra stuff going on in hood rooms. It's going to be talking going on. It's going to be drinking. It's going to be people who don't care what you're doing on stage. All that's taking place in the hood room. It ain't a hood room on earth where that ain't taking place. So if you're trying to cultivate content that's geared towards the hood room, then you still can grow. Remember, like I've said before, I'm not here to tell you what type of comic to be, what type of content to create, and who to gear your show towards. You have to make that decision as a comedian. What I just want to make sure is You know how to grow no matter what environment you're in. You know how to grow no matter who you're gearing your comedy to. You know how to grow no matter where on this planet you are, whether you in, America, whether you're in Africa, it doesn't matter. The process kind of is the same no matter what. With slight nuances, but it's pretty much the same. So now we're at the point again where we're talking about your second time on stage. Now, so you've gone on stage the first time. Now, if you did the things that we talked about in the first couple of classes, then your first time on stage should have been recorded. You should have a recording of yourself, not just audio, but video of yourself of your first performance. So if you have audio and video of your first performance, you need to have or should be breaking that down and analyzing that as if you are a football coach or a coach of a sports team and analyzing everything that you have done in that. So the things that, and what you're looking for bad habits. We talked about that last week. We reviewed a couple of people's sets and we saw that, they had a couple of bad habits, and HB the Great noticed he was looking at the floor the whole time. He never knew that until we watched it. I pointed it out. And when I first started, I was guilty of looking at the floor. And again, if you can't make eye contact with the audience, you can't hope to connect with the audience that you can't even make eye contact with. It's like regular life. If you're talking to somebody about something serious and they won't look you in your eyes, you tend to not trust them, right? So it's the same thing with stand-up. The audience is never going to trust that you trust your material, and they're not going to trust your material if they don't know you, if you won't even look at them. If you looking all over here and at the floor and at the sky, how we know you talking to us? How we know that? We don't know that. So you gotta be able to make that connection. So you've recorded yourself, you've watched your set. If you watch yourself and you're realistic with yourself, you have to be realistic. You have to be one of your own worst critics. Once you start buying into your hype, or if you buy into your hype because you had a good very first set and you start, oh shoot, I got this. This is easy. You're going to lose. You're going to set yourself up for failure because audiences and crowds will turn on you. And if you've only been on stage one time, you're not stage savvy enough to win in every single audience you go in front of. So if you start to buy into the hype because you was funny one time in front of one audience, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, does that mean you're not funny? No. Nobody's saying you're not funny. No, nobody's saying it. No, nobody's saying that. I'm not hating on you saying, ooh, Lab's hating on me, and the other comedians aren't hating on you. If you go on stage the first time and you hilarious and you kill, and people say, hey, pump your brakes. Nobody's hating on you. Nobody's hating on you. What they're doing is they're letting you know this game giveth and this game taketh away. So the same way you was hilarious tonight, you can go on stage tomorrow night and they boo you like you slapped one of their kids. So you have to be very cognizant of, again, drinking your own Kool-Aid and believing your own hype. So let's assume that you did okay. Not good, but not bad your first time on stage. Maybe you made some technical errors. Maybe you did. Let's assume that you were okay. So you're looking at that footage. What you want to look for is the highs. You want to look for the highs in that set. Remember, it should have been 3 to 5 minutes, depending on where you're at. And you want to see the highs. Be realistic with the highs. If you're watching and you hear, and it's a decent crowd, that's not a high. Don't get it twisted. Just because you hear chuckle, that does not necessarily mean that was funny. And that doesn't mean it wasn't funny, but that doesn't mean anything. Because again, remember, your goal is always the majority. So if you say something and there's 100 people in the room and 8 people laugh and they laugh hard, that don't necessarily mean that's funny. That may just mean those 8 people vibe with you. And that may be, in the long run, you might find out those 8 people fit into your core audience. But that still doesn't necessarily mean it's universally funny, whatever you say it. Because if it's 100 people and only 8 people laugh, then that joke doesn't necessarily appeal to the masses. It appeals to what potentially could be your core audience. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me say that too. The problem with establishing a core audience a very small niche core audience in the beginning is you limit your growth potential and you slow down your growth potential. And how do you slow down your growth potential? Because if you're only, let's put it in a percentage. So it's 100 people in the audience, you 8 people died laughing, the other 92 thought you were terrible, then you've appealed to 8%. Let's say that means you appeal to 8% of audiences everywhere. Let's just, for conversation purposes, let's just say you everywhere. So no matter where you go, you appeal to 8%. Well, the thing about it is your 8% ain't always guaranteed to show up to the club. So now you go to club number 2 and it's 100 people there. But out of those 100, only one of them fall into your 8%, because remember, it's only 8%. You only appeal to 8% of people everywhere. So only one of that 8% is there. So that's how appealing to a small group in the beginning hurts your growth, because you can't guarantee somebody in that small percentage is going to be there every time. Now, the higher you get up the food chain, the more likely people from that percentage is going to be in your audience, because the higher you get up on the food chain, the more you get a name, the more you get established, then the more likely your people are to come out. So now the makeup of the audience starts to change. Now you don't have to worry about if it's 100 people there, only 1 or 2, because now your people are coming to see you. So now it might be 50-50, 50 of your people, 50 people that don't think you're funny. You know what I'm saying? Then again, you go up to a little bit more. Now 80% of the audience is your people and 20% just came to the show. But that's okay, because now you're appealing to the majority. See what I'm saying? So that's how you appealing to a small group can hurt you in the beginning. In the long run, it could work for you, but you're going to have a lot more growing pains when you're doing content where you're creating material that only appeals to small groups of people. And then it also is going to pigeonhole you. So because what new comics tend to do, if they're doing that, to put the numbers in their favor, what they tend to do is frequent clubs where those people hang. And now you say, okay, well, it's good because now I can win because I'm always in front of my people. Well, this is the problem with your people. If your people happen to not be the masses, again, let's say you're appealing to hood people, or for conversation purposes, let's say your people is all little people. Your core demographic, you see in the beginning that little people love you. You don't really appeal to other people, but little people love you. Well, and now every club, you only go to the club where the little people hang out. So you killing every week in the little people club. You got jokes about little people, got jokes about height and everything. Well, somebody books you to do a show. They see you in the little people club. They not little people, but they see you in the little people. They like, hey, they was funny. I'm gonna book them to do this show at my nightclub because they thought you were funny. Now you come to this nightclub, but guess what? Now it's not little people. It's just regular people there. The person who booked you, they booked you because they thought you were funny. They don't know comedy, so they don't realize the reason why you were hilarious in this particular room was simply for the fact that you were in front of your people. They don't get that, they don't understand that, and they don't know that. They booked you simply off the fact that they thought you were funny. But what they don't realize is that your funny does not translate outside of your people. Now you perform this club and you die a horrible death, or you perform at this event and you die a horrible death on stage. Well, now you was funny to one person who booked you, but let's say it was 300 people at this event. Now 300 people leave this event saying you were terrible. It's not that you weren't terrible, you just wasn't in front of your people no more. That's why it is way more conducive for growth as a comic to try to appeal to as many people as you possibly can in the beginning. And you can specialize as you go on and as you grow. But you want to, if you can, appeal to as many people as you possibly can in the beginning. All right. So that's the thing. So now you look over your content that you did your first time on stage. Now you go over it. Now, two of the things. So you're looking for your highs. So you find your highs and you want to expand on your highs. Whatever is working, you want to keep doing what's working, and you want to expand on what's working. One of the big mistakes I see new comics make is they go on stage and they talk about, dogs and cats, and they get a good response to dogs and cats. But then they come back next week and now they want to talk about chicken and horses. Why are you talking about chicken and horses? Dogs and cats worked for you last week. Now you come back and you want to talk about something. Why? Well, you figure that every animal joke is going to be funny now? Not likely. You know what I'm saying? So they always want to do something new every week. And that's not how comedy works. Comedy is consistent, repetitive perfection. Let me say that again. It's persistent, repetitive perfection. So you're going to do the same joke over and over and over again with slight tweaks in it until it's perfect, until it works everywhere, every single time, and it gets a thunderous laugh. If it does not get a thunderous laugh, it's not finished. It can always be tweaked. I got jokes that I do now that I was doing 15 years ago, but it doesn't sound the same way it sounded 15 years ago because I'm a smarter comedian today. I know the game better. I've become better at what I do. So now I know a better, more efficient way to do that same content that gives new life to it and makes it even funnier today. But it's the same joke. But somebody who saw it 15 years ago, they wouldn't know it was the same joke until they heard the punchline, because the setup and all of that, it sounds totally different, but the punchline is still the same. And that's the thing that you do. So no material is ever old until you make it like Kevin Hart and you put it on a big special to where 80% of the world saw it and they dropping lines from it. Keep doing that. Keep doing them jokes, or put them on the shelf. Don't throw them away. Put them on the shelf. When you get a joke perfected, you don't throw it away. You put it on the shelf. You put it on the shelf. And you don't put jokes on the shelf. You should have been doing a joke for years before you put a joke on the shelf. Years. Because everybody ain't seen it. If you don't sell tickets, then your people ain't coming to see you yet. Then most likely every time you come back, it's going to be a vast majority of new people. So that's that piece of it. What if you perform for people all over, the same people over and over? Will the jokes be less funny because they have heard it before? Okay, so this is the thing. So for people, newer people who don't understand this question or don't get what she's asking about this, I want to explain, because remember, Victoria, everybody's not at the same level, and they don't necessarily get it. So there are instances where there are always new people every week at the club. It's typically always new people at the club. Very rarely will you go and it's all new people. And all the same people. And if you go to a club with always the same people every week, you need to go to a different club. Point blank, period. Because you can't grow in that club. Whatever that club is, if there are the same people there every single week, you need to go to different clubs. Then you need to use that club as maybe your starting point for new jokes, if it is conducive to that. If especially if they have the same audience every week, that would not be a club that I would necessarily frequent on a regular basis, because how can you grow when you have to do when comedy requires you to do the same joke over and over again, and then you're in front of the same people over and over again? You can't grow. So you have to find ways in different places to be able to stretch your legs. So that's the problem with that. You and that's there's no other way to say that. No other solution to that. You because if you constantly go every week to the same club and you constantly changing up the material, then you can never ever perfect what you're doing. You can't perfect it, because they're not going to give you, because they first thing, oh, there she go telling that same joke. She tell the same jokes every week. Well, ma'am, you're here every week. You ain't got no life. so I get it. Definitely want to do that. Go to different places. Now, I get it. Some cities, I get that you don't necessarily have a bunch of venues to go to choose from. So the idea of just going somewhere else is easier said than done. I get that. I own that, and I accept that. So again, if there's only one place, then what the creative way to do that is then you find different ways to get on stage and grow that are conducive to growth. Ask to host ask to host events at your local church. Ask to host events at his school or something like that. Put yourself in positions to get on stage to grow still, if you are pigeonholed by only having a limited outlet for your material. As great as that's what I'm dealing with. My area doesn't have that many open mic spots, but the one I hit are mostly the same comics. Yes, it's the same comics, but we're not worried about comedians. What about audience? Is it the same audience? Remember this: if you go to a open mic and it's maybe let's say it's empty, it's 10 people there, and 10 audience members and 15 comedians. You're performing for the 10 audience members. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You're performing for the 10 audience members. Why? Because comedians don't buy tickets to shows. Comedians aren't comedy audience members. So don't care about them. Who cares about comics? And if it's no audience and just comics, then what you have to do is you have to get out of, this is the thing about it. If you're in a situation where your options are limited, like there are not a lot of places to do open mic, there's not a lot of places to get on stage, and you do have one place that you can get on stage on a regular basis, but it's typically just comedians and not a bunch of audience members, you have to help that room grow. I don't care that you ain't making no money off of it. You have to, because the mission is bigger than the money. You have to, so you need to start trying to help get people in there. Ask them, can you pass out tickets? Ask them, can you get a guest list? You have to help this room grow. If you want somewhere to practice your art, then you have to be active in creating a place to grow that art when you don't have opportunities. So you can't just wait for somebody else to give you a platform for growth. Sometimes you have to create those platforms. And if the platform is there, but it needs help to grow, sometimes you have to help that growth. And you have to be in there to win it. And you can't be worried about, I ain't getting in off this club is packed. And you can't worry about that. Or step to the owner or the manager or whoever's putting that night together, be like, yo, I want to help. Can I get $1 off every person I bring in? Can I get 50 cents off every person I bring in? I just want to help it grow. See what I'm saying? If it's that serious. Now, I don't think the money should be your main priority, but if you start packing it out and it starts to get packed, and most of the people that are coming to packing it out, then I think it warrants a conversation at that point. Like, yo, before I started helping, y'all wouldn't get nobody in here. Now I'm helping, y'all packed. You know what I'm saying? This is 200 people in here. It was nobody in here. Now it's 200 people in here. Can we partner up on this? Then if they say no, that's okay. Because if you've helped a room start to amass 100 to 200 people that was not getting anybody in there, and now they're getting 100 to 200 people in there, clearly you know how to bring an audience. And if they don't want to partner up at that point, then now you just okay. Because guess what? Now you can go start your own spot. Because clearly you know how to do it because you've helped them grow. So it's ways around it. So yeah, you can't wait on the opportunity to be created. I heard somebody once said that dreams are not given, dreams are taken. Nobody's going to show up to the door and say, "Hey, I got your dream." That's not how this works. Nobody shows up to deliver your dream to you. You got to go out and get it. And that's the thing, especially in the entertainment industry. Nobody's going to show up and give it to you. Because what's going to happen, if somebody does have a briefcase full of opportunity, it's dudes waiting in the bushes to jack that opportunity. It's a whole bunch of other comedians waiting to get that opportunity. And they know the opportunity carrier. And they sitting in the bushes like, yo, homeboy, with them opportunities. Where you at? I'm heading down here to see the great. Nah, homie. We're going to take them opportunities over here. The great sleep. That's what they're going to do. So you can't just wait on it to come to the house because somebody's going to jack it before it get there. Know that, believe that, understand that. Now, so that's it. So let me, somebody inboxed me to make sure, because you sent me a YouTube. I just want to make sure I send a YouTube. Victoria, you sent me your thing. Let me send it to myself so I can put it up here. Victoria wants us to look at her set tonight, so we're gonna look at it and get it in, and we're gonna give you some feedback on this set there, Miss Victoria. Sending it to myself so I can get it. All right. Let's pull this up, Victoria. Let's see what you're working with here, Miss Victoria. So we can get that in. Yeah. Come on, computer. Update. There we go. She said start about the minute mark. Here we go. Victoria's coming on stage. All right, there we go. Let me share this so everybody can see it. All right, let's get it in, Victoria.
All right, sexy people, how's everybody doing? I was scoping y'all out in my seat. I like what I saw. All right, I did. I saw a lot of men supporting the Wonder Woman show. Yeah. How many of y'all trying to get some pussy tonight? Sir? Yeah. I see you right there sitting real tight. All right. Keep on laughing. You're going to be good. Camille, my heart and my thoughts and prayers go out to you on that premature ejaculating small dick man. I understand that sex sells, but this body ain't gonna get none of the donations. Right, donations to feed the children. Some of y'all thinking about it right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all right. I'm gonna take it personally. Listen, my granddad came to visit me recently, uninvited. But I spent time with him because my granddaddy is 90 years old, y'all. That's right, like he made it all the way out. Like this man has seen black presidents. What you wait? What did I miss? Was he single? Who said is he single? You looking? You looking for my granddad? Because you know he had money to come from Birmingham to California. Go digger. All y'all been trying to get laid, go digger in the back left. If you ain't got money, don't even come see her ass. All right. So yeah, my granddaddy, who got his Social Security money and retirement from the post office, yes he is. He came to visit me. And I'm proud of this man, y'all, because he has seen a lot, all right? He's seen the first Black president, the first Black Olympian. He has seen Dr. Ben Carson, the first Black person to show up on time at a barbecue. We don't know what we're gonna do with him. And then like with our pop culture, like we name our kids after celebrities, right? Like little Beyonce, little Rihanna. Well, back in his day, like they named their kids after pop culture icons too, but they didn't have MTV or anything. So the most famous people were presidents, which is why his name is Calvin Coolidge Chains. It's like being named General Mills Johnson. Yeah, and it's so insane. Because I don't know, we had a church sometime back here. Do I need to come back here and get somebody saved? I don't, y'all done have one thing of wine and everybody ready to have a conversation. All right now, I don't know if y'all trying to hook up or what, but wait to the end of the show. Okay? But yeah, like my granddad, like he lived through segregation, sharecropping, and then he lived to see Madonna and Britney Spears make out on MTV. Like he saw Janet Jackson Tittygate, and then the WAP video came out. So when they set him down, they was like, all right, granddaddy, you 90 years old, you got dementia, COVID is here, this is your exit. Do you want this vaccine? He was like, hell yeah, I want to see what's next.
All right. Okay. So we say this, not bad set. Not a bad set, Victoria. Couple of questions real quick so I can give you the right feedback. Was that an open mic? How much time did you have, Victoria? Was it open mic? How much time did you have? And as you answer those questions, let me give you the simple feedback. Two things I want you to do. I want you, this right here, don't do that. Don't do that. And I know what it is. I know it's the lights, and then you're trying to see who's talking. You're trying to see the audience. I get that piece of it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just that's that. Second piece. You only had 7 minutes. I get that it was a little chatter in the room or whatever. I think you got to mow through. I get it. So unless the chatter is to the point to where it's truly bothering you, mow through. Just ignore them, because it in certain situations it's just going to be there. And if you're trying to get these 7 minutes in and you try to put in this work, they're going to derail you. They don't care that you up there on a mission. They just in there on their own little drunk escapades. So mow through. I think the material. I don't think the material was bad. How long have you been doing comedy, Victoria? It was a small ticketed show. I had 7 minutes. Okay. Yeah. How long have you been doing comedy? Why you answer that? Let me answer, Raheem. What do you think it takes to be a great stand-up comedian? I think to be a great stand-up comedian, you have to be fearless. I think you have to have no fear on stage. You have to be willing to say it and live and die by whatever you have said. And that's it. Great comedians have always had a great story or a very great perspective. Agree or disagree with that perspective, but they've always had a great perspective. Dave Chappelle, some people think he's funny, some people don't think he's funny. That is what that is. But what everybody has to agree, that he got one hell of an opinion. and he's creative at expressing that opinion. That's why he's considered to be the GOAT or one of the greatest. Richard Pryor had a story, and he was fearless on stage. That's why he's considered to be one of the greatest. He was fearless. He would talk about anything. He didn't care. He was butt naked on stage. Fearless. And I give you an example of being funny, but not necessarily being considered to be great. Kevin Hart's hilarious. I think he's funny. Personally, I think he is hilarious. But is anybody calling Kevin one of the greatest stand-ups ever? I don't know if anybody classifies Kevin as being one of the greatest ever. I've not heard anybody say that. I think business-wise, without a doubt, he's one of the best to ever do it. The way he handle his career and his career moves have been freaking probably one of the best to ever do it. But we're talking about stand-up. So as a stand-up, I don't think anybody's classifying him like that. Again, so the great ones have always been considered to be fearless or had a great story to tell. So that's my answer to that right there. Started on Zoom in June, started live in May. So theoretically, you've only been doing comedy since May. Because I get the Zoom thing, but you don't get real audience feedback. It's a different ballgame. So roughly half a year. So your set isn't bad at all for somebody who's only been doing true stand-up comedy since about May. It's not bad at all. I think expand on, cut down the number of things you were talking about. That's one of the things we addressed earlier. Cut them down because you're talking about your grandfather. So you threw a little COVID in there. I think if you cut them down, then I think you'll get to the meat of what you're trying to do faster. And I think you'll get to the meat of the joke faster if you cut it down. And that, when I say cut it down, remember I said don't get rid of nothing. Just in those 7 minutes, expand on what you already had. I think you definitely have some highs in your set that you can expand on, and stick with those highs and expand those highs. Sets are built from the inside out. So it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. That's how your set grows. That's how your set should grow. So, you have jokes, you have concepts, have jokes and bits. Concept is, it'd be funny if I talked about dogs. It's fun. I think it's funny when dogs run around the fire hydrant. That's a concept. Jokes run around the fire hydrant. When dogs run around the fire hydrant, why do dogs always seem to get their leash tied around the fire hydrant and then they choking on the fire hydrant? That's the joke. The bit is dogs run around fire hydrants and they be getting, because dogs are some crazy people. Dogs are crazy. They run around fire hydrant. Dogs chase cats. Dogs eat out the trash. See, that's a bit. It's all about the dog and how the dog gets down. But it was predicated and built off the dog running around the fire hydrant. That's how sets are built. So sets are built in those time constraints, and then they're built upon growing a premise. So if you growing a joke, a premise. So if you're throwing out 6 premises, it makes it hard to work on all 6 premises in 7 minutes. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I want you to cut it down and then pick 2, maybe 3. If you got 7 minutes, pick 3. If you got 3 minutes, pick 1 to 2. But if you got 5, 2. So pick and then stick with those things and then work on those. Like for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do the joke. I'm gonna do the joke about my grandfather and COVID. That's all I'm gonna work on for 2 weeks. Every time I go up, I'm gonna tell that joke and make slight adjustments to that joke for 2 weeks and see how it pans out in 2 weeks and see how you grow. And you have to stick with your changes. Don't add something to it but don't do it again to see if it's consistent. You have to be consistent with it. So it makes no sense and does you no good to record yourself, watch yourself, see what you need to change, annotate that change, but not perform that change. So what was all the other work for? So be consistent. Um, Adrian Gray says, I think a new comic, we often think about the big picture of headlining. We study off what we see other headliners do and how many topics they touch. As a new comic, we should stay on minimum topics, without a doubt, because you're not a headliner. So if you're a new comic, you can't base what you want to do off what somebody who's been doing comedy for 15 years is doing. You can't base what you want to do and what you're doing off of that. And your position on the show is totally different. So what he or she, the headliner, is required to do is not what you're required to do. So you have to stay in your lane. It's just like, a lot of times I use a lot of sports analogies. It's about playing your position. If you do an open mic, play the position of an open micer. Ain't about, even as a veteran, when I'm doing open mic, and I know we only got 5 minutes, I'm still going to stick to the 5 minutes. And typically when I do open mic, I go to the stage and I have a mission. I say, oh, I'm working on this joke about so-and-so, so-and-so. And I'm going to go on stage with the mission to get to that joke. I don't necessarily care if I rip or I'm not funny. That's not the mission. The mission is to work on the joke. That's the mission. And as an open micer, your job is your mission is to get better, to grow. Every time you get on stage, you want to grow. And if you're not growing, you are doing yourself a disservice. So that's what you have to think about it. It's never going to be about that. So don't base what you do. It's like this. If anybody work out, one of the things about it working out, you learn real quick. It ain't a competition at the gym. Don't try to lift what you see the next man lifting, because your ass gonna drop the barbell on your throat. Don't try to lift with somebody else. You lift what you can lift. You do what you can do. Don't try to do what nobody else can do. Raheem says, that's what, if you're trying to find your voice and your style on stage, how do you know when you find it? I hope I made sense with that question. I think it's a trial and error thing, finding your voice. And it just takes time. That's one of the hardest things to do. And actually finding your voice, a lot of times, is the last thing that happens with a comic. A lot of times you'll get funny, consistently funny, before you find your voice. Because what you've learned how to do stand-up comedy. And once you learn how to do stand-up comedy, you're able to be funny, but you may not necessarily have a voice. Like there are a lot of everybody who's on here, who's watching, who's done stand-up and around comedians on a regular basis. One of the things you'll notice a lot of times with newer comics, you can watch them and some of them are hilarious, but when they leave stage, you know nothing about them. You know nothing about them. Part of having a voice is sharing a piece of you. Now, how you share that in what format, that's from comic to comic. Like with Dave. I bring Dave up because he's an easy thing for people to reference. The one thing you know about Dave, you know his perspective, you know his point of view, you know how he feels about a lot of social issues. So you know that about Dave. You know what Dave stands. Now, yeah, you might not know what his wife's name is or what his kids' name are or what he likes to eat for breakfast, but you know where he stands. You know 100% where he stands. Then you will have a comic like a Sinbad, where when Sinbad leaves stage, you don't know where Sinbad stands on a social topic. But what you do know, you know everything about him and his family. You know how him and his wife interact. You know about his relationship with his kids. You know how he feels about his his in-laws. You feel like you know him personally. So there's still a connection that takes place. See, so when you so that's about that. That's a part of finding your voice. Is it just takes time, and sometimes there's not necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily a thing you could do to find your voice. I think what you have to do to find your voice, you have to put yourself in some uncomfortable positions to find your voice. You have to make yourself talk about some things that are important to you and may or not be important to other people. And what happens when you do that is you don't want to bomb, you don't want to do bad. So if you make yourself talk about those topics that are important to you on stage, then and you're a true comedian, what you are going to bust your butt to do is to find out how to merge the two. You're going to figure out, how do I merge what I want to talk about with being funny? And when you do that, when you figure out how to do that, you're at your voice. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you. All the advice is amazing. So grateful to have all this to apply. Game changer. I appreciate it. No problem. Hey man, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. When creating material for a broad audience, do you believe there are certain topics in this day and area to stay away from, like LGBT community? No. This is a question I've gotten a couple of times. I'm never going to tell you to stay away from any topic in particular. Never. I think every topic is on the table. Now, that being said, are you prepared for the blowback from doing whatever topic you feel you want to do that may be a little controversial? Are you willing to deal with what comes along with that? If you're willing to deal with that, try it out. If you can make that particular topic funny, people tend to get over what you said kind of fast. Good comedy always potentially offends somebody anyway. And not that that should be your goal. You should be trying to offend people. But good comedy potentially, because good comedy, even if you're just talking about your parenting style, it's going to be somebody out there like, I can't believe he says that. I can't believe he does that with his kids. How dare you do that with your kids? Hey man, these my kids. This is how I parent. You parent your kids how you want it, but they leave offended by something as simple as how you parent your kids. So good comedy always has the potential to offend somebody. So again, I wouldn't say stay away from anything in particular. Just know that the more edgier the subject matter is, don't go controversial simply for the fact that you just want to be edgy or controversial. The easiest way to approach a controversial topic is if you truly feel a certain way about that topic. If you truly feel a certain way about that topic, whatever that topic is, then I would say go ahead and speak on it, because that's how you truly feel about it. So if you feel about that way about it, and it's a topic that you often talk about in your personal life, in your regular life, why wouldn't you talk about it on stage? But again, if it's something as if like the LGBT community and you want to talk about that, just be prepared, depending on what you say. Just be prepared to deal with whatever comes along with that. And again, if you're good with that, can't nobody tell you not to talk about it. I mean, there's too many comics out here, and there's too much stuff in the entertainment industry that's edgy as hell for anybody to tell you what you can and you can't talk about. People, like, I always get agitated because people will say a comic said something that was offensive, but shows like American Dad and Family Guy and Married with Children are considered to be classic TV shows. American Dad says something that is offensive every freaking episode. Family Guy does something that is offensive every single episode. But somehow magically, when we say it on stage, it's offensive. If you watch Family Guy, dude, they go hard in the paint on everybody. Jews, black people, white people, Latinos, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Africans. I've never seen, if you watch a whole season of Family Guy, then somebody's gonna get offended. Somebody, if you watch a whole season of Family Guy, they didn't hit every major group. They hit every major group. What the hell? All right, so what we're about to do is end the broadcast because clearly somebody's in here playing around. That's all right, though. Bam. There we go. Blocked. Super easy. Funny Brent, can you explain what clean comedy is? Clean comedy is comedy, of course, with no profanity, and comedy that you could do on TV like that. That's clean comedy. Clean comedy is not necessarily offensive, non-offensive comedy, because you can be clean, no profanity, and no sexual innuendos or anything like that, and still offend people. So don't think clean comedy necessarily means comedy that's not offensive. So that's what clean comedy is. Clean comedy typically is described as comedy that is TV ready. You can go perform on the Tonight Show or whatever with that particular set. That's clean comedy. That's the easiest way to explain it without, all highly technical, because all the other stuff don't matter. It's just that simple. Comedy that is ready to be put on TV immediately. All right, get ready to get up out of here. We've been in here for an hour. Let's get it in. Don't forget, every Monday we're right here at 9 o'clock. Just like Victoria sent me her set. Want us to go over your set? Check it out. Let me know. We'll look at it. I'll dissect it. Everybody will watch it. Give you some feedback on it. The whole nine. So tell somebody. New comics. Let them know. This class is the same thing that comedy clubs. If you go to comedy clubs, they charge $200-$300 for a stand-up comedy class. $200-$300. Get it to you for free, huh? It's that simple. So catch y'all next Monday, 9 o'clock. Same bat time, same bat channel. Tell somebody, know somebody. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'm not going to look at your set, homie. It's just that simple. Other than that, everybody be easy. If you're a stand-up comedian, get on them stages. Let's go.